Hey guys, and happy Homebrew Wednesday. How are ya? Drinking up on my Monterey Street Pale Ale clone. Look at that guy. No gel, no gelatin, none of that stuff. I think I just finally got my water right. But, you know, it's actually pretty thirsty, so let's go ahead and just dive in. Cheers. It is actually a really nice pale ale. It's got some nice tropical notes in there. It's very well balanced, crisp and clean. Just a hint of citrus. It's good. I definitely recommend this one. I'll probably brew it up again. Yeah, I won't shy away from sharing this recipe. So cheers. Okay. So, this week, I haven't been doing too much brew related, but I did actually get a beer done today. I brewed up the Paul Wicksteed dedication beer. This one's dedicated for Paul Wicksteed because it was his favorite, and it was the last recipe that he was brewing. This one is based on Panhead's Supercharger. So, I went ahead and recorded quite a bit of footage today. And I'm going to save that for a just a brew video. So it should come out right about the same time as this one. I had a lot of interesting things going on. I had some new equipment to try and a bit of cock-ups towards the end of the day. So hopefully I'll be able to get those things straightened out here pretty quickly. One thing I do want to share with you that I did try that was new that I think that would be beneficial for the guys that have invested in this water flow meter thing. What I found really interesting was a new way in order to strike the mash. Normally what happens is I'll fill up the water in the HLT, bring that up to temperature, and then use that water as my strike water, put that into the mash tun, and refill up the HLT and wait for the HLT to come back up to temperature for the mash temperature before I start to recirculate. With the flow meter, now I have the capability to monitor or at least track how much water is going into my system. So I thought this was cool. You know what you need to strike with, right? I did, for example, an 11-gallon batch today, and I needed to strike with a little over 6 gallons. So I could have just dialed that into the meter and say, hey, you know what? Put this into the mash tun, but instead of, it's cold water coming after the charcoal filter. So go and use my HLT, use the heat exchange part of it to actually heat up the water as it travels through the coil in the HLT over and then strike into the mash. That was actually quite cool. I learned something and I want to share that with you. So let's go ahead and take a look at that clip now. Okay, so here I've got my water flow meter set for 10 liters. It's going to put out 10 liters. I've got my carbon filter thing set up here, and the valve is set up here in the middle, and it's just going to go down into an empty bucket, and we're going to see how close we get to filling up to 10 liters. Let's go ahead and hit run. Unit's active. Coming down there, filling up the bucket. Kind of monitor it here. Almost there. There we go. 10 liters. And how are we doing down here? Right here at the 10 liter mark, just above it. So what this new capability gives me is the ability to dial it in and say, okay, if I'm going to strike with 20 liters of water, then what I'm going to do is just push water through my HLT, through the coil in the HLT, until it starts to come out here. When it starts to come out here, then I'll hook up this line and say, okay, dial it in 20 liters over here, push out 20 liters for strike water into the mash tun. It will be at my recycle temperature. So I'll strike, and then immediately be able to start to recycle. I won't have to refill up my HLT anymore. Got my HLT temp set to 67. It's overshot a little bit to 70. You get like 67, so I know I'm going to lose a few degrees, and it only takes about a minute per degree to come up when I'm going through the heat exchanger afterwards. So let's go ahead and just execute this, I guess. I've got it dialed in here. I'm striking with 26 liters of water, which is about 6.8 gallons of water. So again, it's going to come out here into the bottom of the coil, come up through the coil that's inside my HLT, act as the heat exchanger, come out the top, and then into the bottom of the mash tun, and then fill that up. Now, normally I have to worry about volumes, right? So I use the sight gauge to determine how much I'm taking out of the HLT. Since I'm doing it this way, I don't have that capability anymore. So I'm actually dialing it in and telling it how much I want. And it's using this flow meter to actually execute that. So this will be pretty interesting. I've got a temp probe right here, so it will tell me the temperature that it's coming in at. And we'll see that up here on the PIDs, on the control panel. That'll show up here for the mash tun. Let's go ahead and start this. Now, just let you know, I've already got water already all filled in there in the coil. I've already done this and flushed it, so I know that as soon as I start hitting this, as soon as I hit the button, water's going to start coming out of this valve right here. So it's already there. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Now I've got it for a very slow flow here, and I'm controlling the flow right here. So right now it's going out into the bottom. I can see the water starting to flow here. It's coming into the mash tun. It's at a pretty slow rate. So it's coming in at 68, now it's 67. My actual mash temperature today is going to be 66. I can go ahead and drop that down there now. Just sort of let that fall. We'll see the HLT lights on, so the element is on. Just give it a second in order to go through its cycle. Okay, now that temperature coming into the mash tun is 55, so I'm going to back it down a little bit. Now it's 50. If you're curious, my flow rate is currently about, just under 2 liters a minute. So it's pretty slow for that heat exchange in order to bring it up to that temperature. It's kind of interesting. I'm not too worried about it because it's better than over hitting your temperatures, hitting the mash. Right? So if you strike your mash with water temperatures that are much hotter than what you expect, like Beersmith tells you, usually if you're hitting if you want a mash temperature of like 66 degrees Celsius and you hit it with, it tells you to hit it with 73, that's because the temperature of your equipment, the temperature of the grains is going to bring the temperature of the water down to hit 66 after you're done striking. Well, if you do that, that's great, and it works out exactly the way you want. That's perfect. If you overshoot the strike water, you have the potential to denature the enzymes. Doing it this way, I'm going to basically be coming up in temperature from a smaller temperature. So I have no chances of denaturing any of the enzymes. Okay, so here's a very interesting aspect of this that I didn't anticipate, and that is the cold water going through is coming out at 53. But look at the current water inside the HLT. I've got it set for 66, but it's not staying at 66. Remember, it was at 70 actually. Now it's dropped down to 60. So the cold water that's going through the coil is actually decrease in the temperature overall of the water in the HLT. So that's very interesting. Knowing this, next time what I'll do is increase the temperature in the HLT to, say, for example, 76 or even up to 80, and then that will make sure that the temperature coming out of here, the mash tun, when this transfer is finished, is somewhere in the neighborhood of where it needs to be for the mash recycle, the whole recirculation. So that will actually increase the temperature coming out of the HLT and into the mash tun, which is kind of gets me even closer to where I want. So let's see if that is cohesive at all. It's an interesting observation. So I know that next time this HLT temperature should be much higher. That way I get better temperatures out into the mash tun, and the decrease in temperature in the HLT through the duration of this process will end up somewhere in the neighborhood of where we want it. So there you go. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I'm sure that I'll get it better next time. I'll get it more accurate. I'll use higher temperatures in the HLT, probably put it around 75, 78, maybe even up to 80. And I know that when that cold water travels through, it will make the water temperature come down. It will keep or heat up the temperature that's going through the coil to the temperature that I need it at going into the mash tun, and everything should balance itself out, or at least get it pretty close. I got fabulous efficiency today. I don't know if it's because of the Wireman groups, the Wireman malts, or if it was just because I had that like little protein rest prior to bringing it up to my recirculation temperature. So that's kind of going to be something interesting to play with going forward into the future. But that's about it for brewing wise. But I want to give a special shout out and say a huge thank you to Michael Nielsen over at Panhead Brewery for sharing the recipe for the Supercharger American Pale Ale. That's going to be fantastic. I think there's a whole movement of people that are going to go ahead and brew this same recipe. I think it's on starting either December 12th or 13th, and then also the following week on the 18th. I may be wrong, but I know SJ's already put out a video about it. Nate's and Brad talked about it in their last video, talking about Paul. And then I know Grant Baker is also pushing it out there as well. So these next couple of weekends are going to be dedicated towards brewing this beer in dedication to Paul. So thank you so much, Michael, for making this a reality. I'm just making it possible. Cheers. So speaking about Paul wearing a shirt today while I brew his beer, it just seemed fitting. I'm gonna miss him very much. If we go back to when I reached 1,000 subscribers, I had held a contest and I said, hey, send me a picture and that will enter you into the competition in order to win a BrewTubers glass and a BrewTubers shirt. I got all those pictures, but I never did anything with those pictures. Just kind of, they all sort of fell to the wayside and it never became a priority. But now with Paul's passing and everyone realizing, me realizing that, community for me and other people is just, it's so much. It's everything. It's the reason why we do this. It's not for the number of subscribers. It's not for recognition for doing this good or great. It's not for being a good guy. It's not for being anything other than the desire to connect to every one of you in the community and just be able to talk and to communicate and to share ideas and grow as a brewer and as a human being. So finally I took the time in order to put all those pictures together in a frame like I wanted, because I wanted to have something like Glenn at Homebrew Brewery had. And finally, now I do. It's right there. So everybody who sent me a picture for that challenge or that competition is now with me on every single brew day. That's about it for me, guys. thanks a lot for all of the comments and the support that you gave on the video for Paul, and just everybody's dedication and videos that are out there. Fantastic. I mean, it took me a long time to be able to just build up the strength to just go and watch these videos, because they're just so touching, and to see everybody whose lives Paul has touched is just phenomenal. It's as Paul would say, far out. It's so nice. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a hell of a week and have a better weekend. Cheers.